Here we will see label in Tkinter. Tkinter label is used to display boxes where you can place the text or images. The text displayed by this widget can be changed by the developer at runtime also. A label can only display text in a single font, and it is possible to underline the part of the text or span the text across multiple lines. To use a label, you just have to specify what the information display on it. The information can be text, a bitmap, or an image. General syntax for defining label is label with parameter, master and options, where master represents the parent window and options are different commonly used options for the label. These options can be used as a key value pairs separated by commas. Different Tkinter label options are as follows. First is anchor. This option is used to control the positioning of the text if the widget has more space than the required for the text. The default value for anchor tag is center, which centers the text in the available space. BG option is used to set the normal background color displayed behind the label and the indicator. Height option is used to set the vertical dimension of the new label. Width option sets the label of the width in characters. If this option is not set, the label will be sized to fit its contents. BD option is used to set the size of the border around the indicator. Default BD value is 2 pixels. If you are displaying the text on the label, the font option is used to specify in what font the text in the label will be displayed. Cursor option is used to specify what cursor to show when the mouse is moved over the label. The default is to use standard cursor. Text variable is associated with the Tkinter variable with the label. If the variable is changed, the label text is updated. Bitmap is used to set the bitmap of the graphical object specified so that the label can represent the graphics instead of text. Image option is used to display a static image in the label widget. Pad X option is used to add an extra space between the left and right of the text within the label. The default value for this option is 1. And pad Y option is used to add an extra space between the top and bottom of the text within the label. The default value for this option is 1. Justify option is used to define how to align multiple lines of text. You can use left, right or center as its values. To set the position of the text inside the widget, use the anchor option. Default value for justify is center. Relief option is used to specify appearance of the decorative border around the label. The default value for this option is flat. With underline option, you can display an underline below the nth letter of the text. The default underline is -1, which means no underline is displayed on the label text. And wrap length. Instead of having only one line as the label text, it can be broken into the number of lines where each line has number of characters specified to this option. Here we will see an example. For this, first we will import the Tkinter as Tk, and then we'll create a root window with tk.tk. Then we'll set the geometry for this root window as 400 by 400. That is, it will create a root window with height 400 and width 400. Then we'll set the title for this root window as label widget demo, and we'll create a label with parent window as root, text as new label, anchor as SE, that is southeast. Then width of the label as 20, height of the label as 2, border size as 3, background color as sky blue, relief as flat, cursor will be hand to, foreground color, that is the color of the font is red, underline is 0, that is it will display underline to the first character of the label, and will set the font as Arial for this label, and will position this label with grid for the column 0, row 1, padding as 0 from the left and 10 from the top. When we execute this code, it will create this window as window title with label widget demo, the label with background color sky blue and the font color as red. Now we'll create this label in Jupyter Notebook. So first we'll import the Tkinter as Tk. Then first we'll create root window as root equal to tk.tk. Then we'll set root window geometry as 400 into 400. Then we'll set title for this root window, and we'll add a label as label equal to tk.label with parent window as root, text as new label, and we'll add root.main loop, and we'll set this label to the grid as label.grid with column number equal to 0, row number as 1, pad x equal to 100, pad y equal to 10, and we execute it. It will add a label to the root window with text new label. Then we'll see another properties. First we'll set the background color as bg equal to sky blue, and we execute. It will add a label with background color as sky blue, but it will set the width and height of the label depends on the text displayed on this label. If we set the height and width of this label as width equal to 50, height equal to 2, and if we execute, it will set the label width as 50 and height as 2. I will change it to 20. It will set the label width as 20 characters. That is, if we don't specify the width, it will set the width of the label depend on the characters displayed on it. Next we'll see foreground color. So FG equal to red, and we'll set the cursor as cursor equal to hand 2, and if we execute, it will set the foreground color for this label as red, and when we move the mouse pointer to the label, it will set the cursor as hand. Then we'll set the anchor property, anchor equal to SE. It will set the label text to the southeast corner for this label. If I set N, it will set the label text on top and middle of this label, and if I give center, it will set the text to the center of the label. Then I will give underline character as underline equal to 0, and if I execute, it will set the underline to the first character, that is N. I can change the font using font equal to Arial of size 16. I will specify italic and I will execute this. It will change the label font for Arial. Font size will be 16 and type will be italic. Then we will check relief option. So relief equal to flat, and if I execute, it will set the label border as flat. If I set is raised, and if I execute, it will change the border for this label. If I give solid, it will give the solid border to this label. To change the border width, I will give BD equal to 5. It will change the border width with 5 pixels. We can add another label. I will set it as label 1, and I will add it to grid for column equal to 0 and row equal to 2. And if I execute, it will add 2 labels on the same window. That is, first we have imported the Tkinter to add a label, then you have created the root window with geometry as 400 by 400, that is width equal to 400 and height equal to 400. Then you have specified the label title as label demo, and you added the label with tk.label, parent window as root, text as new label, background color as sky blue, width as 20, height as 2, foreground color as red, that is text font color. Then cursor will be hand 2, anchor will be center, underline will be 0, that is underline is presented to the first character. If I specify here 3 and if I execute, it will set the underline to the third character for the label text. Then you have set the font relief as a solid, that is the border appearance, and border size will be 5, and we have added this label to the grid with column 0, row 1, padding X as 100, padding Y as 10, that is the label will be displayed from the left as 100 pixel and from the top to 10 pixel.